Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Dr. Richard Hatchett, and many of you will know me from nurseledclinics.com, but my main role is as a university lecturer working with nurses and other healthcare staff to achieve academic success and hopefully improve their patient care. What I want to look at in this clip with you is improving your study skills, particularly if you're undertaking formal study, that is a unit or module or course in higher education, that is at a university, school of nursing or college, or maybe even indeed topping up to a full degree or master's. I want to divide this presentation to several areas that I believe if you can improve on, you will improve your academic marks and, I believe, patient care. Now, some of these issues we look at, you'll say, absolutely fine, I'm doing all of that, and that's a good thing, but hopefully there will be some tips which will work for you as well. What I'm going to do is look at a variety of sections. I'm going to talk about choosing the course or the unit of study, what I think you should do at the beginning of a course or unit of study, time management, which, as you know, always comes up, how to manage your time more effectively, the material you should be using as part of your study, what critical analysis and evaluation is, because these internationally generally define degree and master's level work, how you can read a paper more effectively, referencing of course, and then thinking about how you present the work. So hopefully that's okay for you. When you choose a course, be careful that you don't just turn up in the classroom and not know what the course is all about. This happens occasionally, particularly if an employer has put a nurse or healthcare professional on a course. You are a professional, therefore there is a need for you to understand what this course is about. It's very difficult as university staff to motivate somebody who is sort of saying, I don't really know why I'm here, I don't know what this course is about, I don't know what the assignment is, I don't know what days I'm supposed to be in. Find that out before you start the course. Obviously your prospectus will help, the online website for that university or college, or ring the course tutor and find out a little bit about the course so you know what you're walking into. That will help motivate you and help you to start thinking about studying and your time management skills. Okay, now when you start a course, make sure that you read the unit handbook or the module guide and look out for certain things, such as the overall learning outcomes or objectives. This is what they're wanting you to do. You might see terms such as problem solving, critical analysis, exploring, critiquing research. This is important because these are the key areas they'll want to see in your assignment. What content will you be studying? This will help you collect your material and start you focusing. And what is the assignment? What are they asking you to do, and when is it due in? At this stage, access the marking grid. It's really important. If you haven't got the marking grid, you should have it. You shouldn't have a tutor who is saying, I'm going to mark your work, but I'm not telling you what I'm going to mark it against. So ask for the marking grid. This may be available online. It may be as part of the unit or module guide, or it may be given out in class. But you need to have a look at that. When you look at that, look at the weighting. How many marks are given for what aspects? Might be 10% for presentation, 10% for referencing. Might be 40 or 50% for critical analysis, critical evaluation, synthesis, critical writing, these sort of aspects. If at this stage you're saying, well, I don't really understand what critical analysis or evaluation is, you need to find out. You might go to your tutor and say, can I have a tutorial? Or very commonly, as in my situation, students will say, will you go through how we put the essay together in class? So your tutor might do half an hour on that. Go to the library at the college or university or school of nursing and say, do you have any help sheets on writing essays or on critical analysis or evaluation? But do look at that marking grid and see what actually they're expecting you to do. Let's think about time management now. None of us have got enough time, and you're going to have to dump, ditch or delegate certain aspects of your work and private life to be able to fit everything in. If you look at the unit guide or the course material, it's likely it will tell you how many student-directed hours there are. This is the numbers of hours outside of the classroom you're going to have to commit to this course. It represents the average student getting the average mark, but it gives you some idea of how much time you will have to commit to this course to get a good mark. Try and clear a space where you're going to do your studying and read your books and your articles and set up your computer. It may be somewhere that's used at other times for different things, such as your dining room table or whatever, but actually doing that gets you into the mode of getting ready to study. And buy a couple of files, ring binder files, where you can store your material. You'll probably need 2 for the unit, and you can hole punch and put your papers in there so they're easily retrievable, you can safely store them, and you're not searching around all the time under the bed or in the lounge or the sitting room or whatever to try and find those papers. I would also say consider where you're studying. It might be that you can use libraries, it might be that there's areas at work you can use, but do think about alternative areas where you can keep what I would say trickle feeding your knowledge base, so you're not just trying to focus on one area that may not be available when you actually need it. I always talk about dead time. Now, dead time for me is those times when you're waiting for a friend or you've arrived early for an appointment, etc. Or maybe you finished your shopping and you could pop into the library, or you're doing a train journey, plane journey, boat journey, where you can actually carry some material with you and read around the subject area that you're looking at for your assignment. I think it's false economy, I think it's crazy to try and leave everything until the last minute. I know many of us do that, but try not to do it. The reason being that if you're being asked to critically analyse or evaluate, you're going to have to get your thought processes going over this. And you can't do it at a weekend at the end, you know, when you're handing in your assignment on the Monday. But if you actually use dead time effectively and carry some articles that you photocopied with you, and a highlighter or coloured pen or a pencil or pen to mark off areas, then actually you're constantly thinking about the material, comparing, contrasting, looking for the best evidence, different ways of addressing the care problem or issue that you're writing about. It really does help you to critically analyse and evaluate. So remember to use dead time. Of course, the problem with dead time is there's always something more interesting to do than studying, at least for most of us. I can't motivate you through this clip. You have to look to yourself as to why you're doing this course, this particular degree or master's or whatever, and what the benefits are going to be to yourself and to your patients. But do keep focused and try and keep studying and not being distracted by many other different things that are occurring around you or that you need to do. You will need to dump, ditch or delegate tasks in your life. What material are you going to use? Well, most universities will require you to use peer-reviewed journals. That is, journals with good quality articles, current literature reviews, evidence, etc. And try and use material that is about 5 years older or less. If you're going to use older material, it's always worth in an essay highlighting why you're using it. It might be a key document that's still used today, a seminal piece, etc. But do note that it is quite a few years old, but it is a key document and that's why you're referring to it. And of course, there may, in fact, have been nothing done since that paper in this particular area, but make a point if you're using an older paper. But generally, in your search engines, when you go to the library, etc., search for articles that are about 5 years or less, and that will keep your assignment fresh and up to date. Let's think now about reading the material. It's very important that you don't just read book after book or paper after paper without making any notes, but it's also equally important that you don't just copy chunks out of the material. Think critically, focus on the assignment and, importantly, the overall learning outcomes of the unit or module and the marking grid, because this is what they're looking for in your assignment. I would suggest that you photocopy your papers or articles and use a highlighter pen. Highlight no more than about a third of the paper and think critically again. Look perhaps for definitions, care aspects that you can contrast with other papers, evidence, research, the strength of the research and the evidence. When you come then to do the essay, you can just read the highlighted areas and your notes that you've made in the margin and on the back, and you can build up a holistic essay that is really critical and looks around the care aspect, or the case study, or whatever you're looking at. Let's talk a little bit now about referencing. You need to follow the referencing style that the College of Nursing or School of Nursing or University or College of Higher Education follows. And help sheets should be available from the library or from the tutor. You must follow that style. What I commonly see in people referencing is that the reference appears in the list at the end but not in the text, or vice versa. There's misspellings between the author's surname in the text and the reference list, again, or vice versa, or the dates don't match in the body of the work and in the reference list. So do, when you've finished, go into your computer, look at the essay on the computer screen and use your find box to find the surname of the person, the author, and check that it appears in the text and in the reference list and it matches. And also at that point you'll be able to see whether the date matches as well, and follow the style. Now some tutors will be very pernickety and say you must follow it to the letter, including where you put the comma, where you put the full stop, etc. Others say follow a Harvard or a Hanover or other style generally, but do make sure it's consistent and do make sure that you're not missing out, as we've said, references from the text that are in the list and so forth. Presenting your work, always present it neatly. It must be typed. Only type on one side of the sheet. I'm sure many of you know this anyway. And double space the work, and triple space if you can the paragraphs, about 3 paragraphs per page. Do make sure you provide a cover sheet. Sometimes the university won't necessarily tell you exactly what to put on a cover sheet, but provide your student number or ID number, the title of the essay or the assignment. That's very important. Otherwise, a marker could say, I don't know what question you're answering. You know, it might be a critical analysis and evaluation of drug treatments used in a urology clinic or prostate cancer clinic or whatever. Or it might be a case study or whatever. But do put the title there. Put your name, as I've said, your ID number. Put the unit code for the course or the module you're studying and the name of the tutor, so that if the work gets put in the wrong box at the university, they can trace who it's supposed to be handed into. When you hand the work in or post it, keep a receipt if you post it. If you hand it in, get a receipt as well, because work does go missing. I'll just talk about bookending now. Do make sure you've got an introduction to your essay. It's very important. Remember that your marker is going to be marking a lot of work, because all your other colleagues will be handing in their work at the same time. So he or she is going to be marking one essay after the other, and you need to draw them in quickly, set the scene and tell them exactly what you're looking at. So in an introduction you might say, this essay is going to critically analyse, or this essay is going to explore, and tell them what you're looking at. Don't take more than about a page for an introduction, but also provide some statistics, so perhaps prevalence or incidence of the area that you're looking at, national figures or local to you. And I always think it's important to say what the essay is going to argue, or what your key points are that you're making. So I see students who write really good work saying, this essay will argue that. Just think about what are the key points you're making. And of course, it's advisable to write the introduction after you've written the rest of the essay. It's going to go at the beginning of the work, but if you do it after you've written the essay, you're very clear about what you're going to be arguing or what you have argued. So write the introduction as the last thing, but place it at the beginning of the essay. A conclusion is very important as well. I would say, write, in conclusion, this essay has argued, explored, or done whatever. If you write in conclusion, the marker knows that you're concluding the work. Remember, no new material in the conclusion, you're just summing up. If you're really good at a conclusion, you'll talk about the quality of the literature you've looked at. You might be saying that there has been some work done here or there, but we're still waiting for further work in this area or that area. You might also think, where are we going now? Perhaps there should be more research in a particular area, etc., or nothing's been done here. Making the same point again, but thinking about the future. Don't just say, I've looked at this, I've looked at that. Quality of literature and where we're going, where we need to go, because there's always gaps in both the literature and the research. But I think my best advice would be just go ahead and write the essay. It probably will be quite descriptive in the first draft, but then you can print it off, and with a pen or pencil, and this is why you do need time, you can highlight areas that you can enhance critically, perhaps an alternative definition, or another care approach you can contrast with the one you've got, or a comment on the research. And this way, layer upon layer, you'll end up with a much more critical piece of work. I've talked a little bit about critical analysis. It's worth mentioning critical evaluation as well. Evaluation, many would argue, and probably quite correctly, is part of critical analysis. But critical evaluation is a particular thing. It's looking at the merit or worth of something. Does it work? So when you're critiquing and critically analysing, teaching strategies, counselling strategies, health promotion models, models of this or that, do they work? And think about how you can evaluate. There are many ways of us evaluating patient care. Patient satisfaction surveys, readmission rates, perhaps morbidity, mortality, quantitative, qualitative, physiological parameters, blood pressure, heart rate, other physiological things that we can measure. But just think a bit about that, rather than writing an essay where you're saying this model is good, it does this, it does that, but does it work? Has it been tested in your particular area? Maybe it has in another area, but in your particular area. And your marker will say, great, this student has really thought about whether this care approach does actually make a difference, does actually work. So think about evaluation. It links to the quality of the evidence and what's been done, of course, but do think about evaluation. I hope that some of that has proved useful to you. Good luck with your studying. Always remember, don't work in isolation. Talk to your course tutor, talk to the librarian and the library staff at your university or college or higher education, and let them help you to enhance your work, because there's nothing more depressing than putting in a lot of work into an essay or an assignment and getting a low mark. Be proactive and address this, because half the work is about the facts and the knowledge, but half is about what you do with that information and how you write effectively and critically. Good luck.